Good morning, everybody. I hope you slept well. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I hope you spend it with your family or you find a way to enjoy it. One of the things that I'm thankful for is my father. You guys know my father's sick. He's in the hospital. He's probably only got a few weeks, if not months left or something like that. My father is an extremely intelligent man. He's got a brain that just has information about everything. He's got multiple degrees in stuff in college. He's been an accountant, dealt with finances and stuff his whole life for big companies. My dad is just an amazing person. I went into foster care in 1999. I stayed with a lady named Miss Gloria Jean Johnson and Eddie Johnson. Black family, my foster mother and father. I went to an all-black school, Hubbard Elementary School. Closest girl to my skin color there was albino. She called me black boy, and I called her white girl. It was just our way of goofing around with each other. I lived off 63rd and Green. It was a rough area. I didn't stay there for a very long time, but I stayed there enough to get acquainted with the neighborhood and the people there, to be called a nickname. I learned that people in the hood really like playing basketball, because I'd never, since that day, have ever been on a basketball court shoveling the snow off of it to play basketball. But I learned that there. I learned how to play basketball there. Got into my first fight there. It's a local kid that was my age, 13 years old. His name was Scooter. And he was looking for Rich, because I was the new kid on the block and he wanted to beat me up. Well, that didn't happen. He got the first lick in, which busted my lip, bleeding down my... What I mollywopped his butt 3 or 4 times upside his head, and he laid on the ground, just knocked out. The old man come off the porch. We were fighting in front of his house. He said, okay, that's it. White boy, you go home. Scooter, you go home. He didn't know my name. So, that was the start of my life in foster care. I was with Miss Johnson for a long time. Called her mom, called Eddie dad. Miss Johnson's son was in the Navy off the coast of California at the time, I think. Navy or Marines. He's off the coast of California on a ship. And he seen the article on the news pop up about this little white boy that was with his mom. And he said, Mama, are you doing foster care with that little white boy I see in the news? And she said, yeah, his name is Rich. And I had a good life there with Miss Johnson. A really good life. I seen a lot of stuff that I wish I'd have never seen. I seen a lady get raped in front of my house. The cops wouldn't show up. On each end of my block, there was a drug house where you could see people going in the front and walking out the back with drugs. That's all they did. And there was plenty of shootings around there. 63rd and Green is not a nice area at all. It's a very dangerous area. Cops don't even like to go over there. So, Miss Johnson was head of the precinct captain, or she was head of the CAPS program, or precinct captain or something like that. She headed up the meetings and stuff, trying to make the neighborhoods and stuff better, trying to help youth and families in need and stuff like that. She was a very, very good lady. It got a little dangerous around there, and they were worried that as I got older, that I'd be drawn into the gangs and stuff like that, and they'd try to use me as an example. So, they moved me out of there. And the family that I went to see at the Joliet Catholic Charities office was my mother and father. I was sitting down in this room at this table. It was probably 10 by 10, 10 by 20, something like that. There was a table right in the middle of the floor, and there was a couple chairs around the table. It lit up real nice with like a gray, darker gray interior in the walls. And this lady and man came in to sit down and talk to me and introduce himself to me and just get to know me a little bit over the next, hour of us sitting there talking. And my dad told them immediately, we want to move forward with this. We really like this kid. We think he's going to be a good fit for our family. And a week later, spent a couple hours with him. A week after that, I went and spent like half the day with them. About 2 weeks after that, I went and spent the night with them. And about a week or two after that, I had spent the weekend with them. And then the next time I went out, I stayed with them permanently. And when it was out in Romeoville, Illinois, in a up and coming subdivision that was being built. My parents had this like 2,700 square foot home built there. Had like 22-foot vault ceilings in the living room. I had my own bedroom. The bathroom right next to my bedroom was my bathroom. It had a double vanity, and on the other side of the wall was a normal shower and toilet. When I walked into this house, all I could do was look at this house and be like, oh my God, you guys live here? And still to this day, my dad tells that story. Because I'd never lived or seen anything such nice like that. I had a good life there, better than ever. My father never made me feel uncomfortable. He always made me feel like I was his blood. He taught me how to save money. He taught me how to work. He taught me that if you want something, you have to work for it. It's not going to be handed to you. So if you want chore money and stuff around here, you want money for new bicycles and stuff like that, you're going to have to work for it. So he'd put me out in the yard, ripping up the grass or the bushes or redoing the rocks or the pavers around the house. I was no stranger to work with him. He was a good man. We'd sit down at the table and he'd pull out this envelope and this pad of paper that we were keeping track on what money was going in, what money was going to go into savings, and what money was going to be put aside for me to have some pocket money. And I started growing the money that was in that envelope. My dad didn't pay me little either. Sometimes it was a couple $100 at a time. So it was like I had a regular job, but just being a kid at home doing chores. It took me a while to adjust to the lifestyle of having things and having parents that cared and stuff like that, and not having to worry about looking over my shoulder. My father made me feel extremely comfortable with them and showed me unconditional love. My mom too, but this is about my dad. My dad's in a hospital and he's got probably just a couple months left, so that's why I'm telling you this story. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got moved from one home to another, to another, to another. And then I ended up in like Oak Brook, Illinois, with a lady out there, an old lady. Her name was Betty Buell, and she lived right along Graw Mill. And I remember at 16 years old was the first time I ever spoke to my incubator, my womb mother. It was a bad experience. But there's also the same year I had swollen glands and I had pneumonia. I called my dad, the family that had raised me for a while in Romeoville. I told him what was going on. He consoled me and talked to me. Even though I went to all these other homes, they never lost contact with me. It was Catholic Charities and the politics behind that and the counselors and stuff, the shitty caseworkers and stuff that they had was the reason why I had to move. It wasn't because of my parents. It wasn't because of me. I didn't find that out until I was 27 years old, in college, and my dad sat me down and told me about what was going on, what happened back when I was a kid. So after I bounced from home to home to home to home, I went back to them again. Was with them for probably another 6 months to a year, something like that, and then they pulled me out of the house again. I couldn't keep doing that. So after the next foster home that I went to, I asked to be emancipated from the system. I asked to be my own adult. They signed the paperwork over. At 17 years old, I dropped out of school. I went to college. Or I mean, I didn't go to college. Not at the time, I didn't go to college. I dropped out of school. I went and got my own apartment. My foster father signed the lease. I bought a second car, and I started working the trades. I started working blowing cellulose insulation for a company out of Limestone, Illinois, called Innovative Insulation. And I was also a janitor from midnight to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning at the YMCA in Kankakee. My father and mother never left me. They stayed with me through all of these transitions, through all of the foster homes. They always made sure that I had what I needed over the years, even though I wasn't with them anymore, because I was unjustly and unfairly taken from them. And as I went off and went into the military, they were there for me for all that. When I came home and I was mixed up with PTSD and stuff and didn't want to communicate with anybody, they were still with me through all that. Then eventually I went to the college that my father was the financial director at. He helped me get in there. He helped me get my GI Bill set up and everything else. Then about 5 or 6 years ago, me and him had a little bit of a falling out. Now fast forward all this time later. I'm 38 now. I'm about to be 39 in January. When I was 32, 33 years old, something like that, maybe it was 6, 7 years. 32, 33 years old, me and my father had a falling out over the phone. I was switching jobs. I was going from a union job at $35 an hour to go to a non-union job with all medical paid, no deductibles, no nothing, for 40 an hour. To me, that was an amazing opportunity. That would actually save me money. And it was closer to my home. I had a house out in Rockford, Illinois. A little small house out in a really bad neighborhood. And I would drive to Dundee Ford. I switched jobs from Rush Truck Centers over to Dundee Ford. And I worked for the Bob Lucrocio Auto Group. I remember being in the front yard. My dad didn't like what I told him. I said I'd switched jobs. I worked for Bob Lucrocio Auto Group, a Ford dealer out there. And he was like, Rich, you got to stop moving job to job. You got to get somewhere and stay there and build up some time. And I said, well, Dad, this was medical paid, $5 more an hour. He didn't understand that in the mechanic trade that it's common to move around. It's not frowned upon. It's actually, if you know that this is the field that you're going to be in, the guys, they chase the money, and that's what this is about. So my father was trying to give me financial advice and talk to me about this and being non-union and all this other stuff. You know, I'm 33 years old. I don't need to have my father in my back pocket but he's my father. I should have known that he meant it out of love and not harm. And I had told him, I said, hey, Dad, I pay my own bills. 17, 18 years old, I didn't ask for anything else after that. I've been taking care of myself since then. I'm 33 years old now. I've got this figured out. I'm always learning for sure. But I think I made the right choice. This is my life. And he didn't like how I was talking to him. And I was wrong. But I was trying to stand up for myself as an adult. And you know how your parents, they don't like to let go of that security of knowing that you're okay and stuff like that. And just letting you make the choices. And after that, me and my dad stopped talking for like 6 years. And right before the wedding, in May of this year, I reached out to my father and I said, look, I'm really sorry about everything that happened. And I'm getting married soon, and I'm going to have a baby soon. And I want you to be a part of all that. I'm really sorry. So this was in like March that I got a hold of him. Maybe February or March. And we all started talking again. And it was just like the day that we stopped. Like nothing had changed. Except my father's medical condition. He went from being able to walk and at least fend for himself and stuff like that to retired, staying at home and could barely do anything for himself. And I missed all that. I missed the 7 years of not being there. And I feel terrible for it. But I'm thankful for my father. He's a wonderful man. He's always been there for me. And I think this Thanksgiving, my thanks goes out to him. You know, my family and you guys and stuff as well. But my main focus right now is just trying to see him as much as I possibly can and be there for him. That's my story with my father. I'm going to head out there right now. As soon as I get off this phone, I'm going to, probably in the next 15-20 minutes, leave this house and got an hour and 15-minute drive. I'm going to go spend the morning with him, and then I'm going to turn around and come back and spend the afternoon, evening with my family here, the wife and her parents, doing Thanksgiving, so I can at least see him and see them. It's going to be a stressful day, but I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful that I can still do it. Y'all be blessed. I love y'all. Sorry to take up your time with such a sad story, or maybe a story you could care less about, but that's my life. That's this channel. You never know what you're going to get. I appreciate y'all. Be blessed. I love y'all.